I'm watching you, Mike Wazowski. Hello everybody, it's Aislyn. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you the Nope Trope book tag. I was tagged by Meg from Wicked West Books, so thank you so much for tagging me. It was my first actual tag, which is very exciting. This book tag was created by Zoe from Zoe's All Booked, and I'll put her video in the description. I'll also put Meg's video in the description. So again, thank you so much for tagging me. Sorry it's a little late. I know you tagged me a little bit ago, but I am bringing you the Nope trope. Basically, there's like different tropes, and then you choose a book that like applies to it. So as we go through, I will explain my picks and why I picked it for this trope. You'll see what I mean. It will all make sense in the end. So the first trope is, or the Nope trope, as we'll say, is eavesdropping with miscommunication. So name a book you heard great things about and expected to love, but ended up hating. Immediately, my mind went to Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I have mentioned it before. I mentioned it in my mid-year book freakout tag about, because it was obviously the book I've hated the most from 2020. This book was truly awful. I honestly don't understand why people love it, and literally everybody that I follow, for the most part, that has read it has loved it, and I just didn't understand. Like Kayla for Books with Lala, who is an avid thriller horror reader, like it was like, I'm pretty sure it was one of her best books of 2019. I could be wrong, but like I remember she loved it a lot, and I trust her reviews so much because she has such a very specific reading taste and it's so interesting, and I just was so hyped for it. It has so many stars on Goodreads, and I just didn't understand. The writing was bad. The characters were flat, especially the main character. This poor main character, her whole personality is her poverty and her trauma. Like, I couldn't tell you shit all about the rest of her. I don't even know what she looks like. Like, we truly, like, nothing. The plot twist was also terrible. I was so disappointed in the plot twist from this book. Everyone's like, oh my god, it was so good, and so I didn't see it coming. And at one point I thought it was going one way, another point I thought it was going another way, both of which ways would have been more fucking interesting than the actual truth. And I was just disappointed. I'm gonna spoil it right now, because so if you do want to read this book, I'll put the timestamp for the not spoilers, because it was truly awful. So the actual plot, basically in this fucking building, ends up being that it's literally just rich people that are part of this like black market organ donation, but it's actually organ stealing, where they steal from the apartment sitters in the fucking building. Some of them die, some of them they just like blackmail them to be quiet about it. And like it's literally just to extend their life, like all these rich old people's lives by a few years. I wanted it to be serial killer in the building. That was actually the hot young doctor. Like that would have been more interesting. I wanted it to be black magic with the lady who was there earlier. I can't even remember her name, but she like apparently had a blood cult in the building like 100 years before or something. That would have been more interesting. Even the fucking black market organ donation, but it actually makes these old people immortal or some shit, like that would have been cooler. Like something supernatural with it, but no, it was boring, it was predictable. Also the plot twist where it's like she's still in the Bartholomew the whole time. There's like parts where it's like her in prison in the hospital, her having flashbacks to the inciting incident that put her there, and I knew the whole time that she was in the Bartholomew, because there's this one line in the second chapter in that present day where she's like, I'm nowhere near the Bartholomew. I'm like, you're in the Bartholomew. It's clear that you never escaped. I don't know if it's supposed to be that obvious or if it's just, I don't know. Either way, I hated it. I still get angry when I think about it and the fact that I wasted my time on that book. But yeah, so that fits that trope. Sorry if you loved it, but I don't understand. It just didn't sit with me, okay? Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions about books. So if you loved it, great. I'm really glad that you got that out of that book. I, however, did not. As we've just heard. The second Nope trope is love triangles. So it's name a series where you can't pick your favorite book. Which, for me, the no-brainer was the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. One, because it's my favorite series of all time. Every time I reread it, a new book is my favorite. Arguably some are better than others, like plot-wise and character-wise, but just with my love for the series. I love all of them with my whole heart. Sometimes when I read it, The Titan's Curse is my favorite. Sometimes when I read it, it's The Sea of Monsters. Sometimes it's The Last Olympian. Sometimes it's The Lightning Thief. Sometimes it's The Battle of the Labyrinth. Like, it really just fucking depends on me and my mood. And also what age I'm at, because I started reading this book series when I was 13. And I am now 23, almost 24. So I have read it enough that literally every single time I read it, a new book is my favorite. Either way, I just can't pick. It's my favorite. I love it so much. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. We're gonna move on to the next Nope trope. The next one is the not like other girls / didn't know I'm beautiful trope, which is name a book that has a pretty cover but was boring as all hell. Well, I don't even own it anymore because I unhauled it a year or two ago, I believe. But for that, it would definitely be Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I remember closing this book when I finished it. This was honestly also like 3 or 4 years ago that I read it. I remember closing the book and being like, well, that happened. I barely remember the premise of the book. I was very disappointed in it, to be honest, but the cover is fucking beautiful. So I don't understand why why couldn't the inside of the book be as beautiful as the outside of the book? Because that is my, like, the cover of this book is my aesthetic, with the clean lines and the crown and then just the blood. It's just truly amazing, and the book series did not hold up. Obviously I only read the first book because I just didn't care enough. Like, I think I gave it 3 stars. I didn't do anything new for a category which has been done before, which is like the standard white royalty. Girl finds out she has mysterious powers and she's the chosen one, blah 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 shit. It was boring. Like, I don't even really remember any of the plot. Not that I've thought about it. I just remember there was some shit with some lightning. It was mediocre. It was meh. So, again, if you like that series, sorry, but not my thing. The next trope is the all-consuming love. So name a book that gave you a book hangover. Oh, I have 2 answers for this. 1, Spin the Dawn. Have I talked enough about this book? I don't think I've talked enough about this book. I have a whole review of this book that you could go watch if you want, because it's amazing, and I literally remember wanting to scream on the train when I was reading it because I was losing my shit and I was not the same after reading it, and I want to cry. I just read Unravel the Dusk. Go watch my July wrap-up if you want to know my thoughts on the sequel. And then the second, again, has to be An Ember the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, because what can I say? What can I say about these 2 books? They both make me so emotional for so many different reasons. And it's fine. Like, this, I have read the sequel. I still have to read Reaper at the Gates, which is the 3rd book. Is that a fucking spider descending from my ceiling? I hate, it's on site. It might just be a cobweb. So that still means there's a spider in here, but it might just be a cobweb and not one descending from my ceiling as I speak. I'm watching you, Mike Wazowski. This also made me want to cry and scream. I finished this on my back porch, so that was different. I could have screamed, probably would have scared the shit out of my neighbor. Both have hurt me in various ways. Both have given me major book hangovers. And I want to cry. They're both so good. Go read them if you haven't and you like fantasy. They're both written by authors of color. Support that. The actual last like trope to answer here is douchebag boyfriend, which is name a book that took you a while to get into but you ended up loving, which is easy for me. Come on, bitch. Ah! For me, that would be Six of Crows. Ooh, this is shiny. It's my special edition that I got for Christmas. It's so beautiful. Because I remember when I first, out of the two, Crooked Kingdom is my favorite. I preferred it over this, but this I still love. Like, this was very slow going for me in the beginning. I had read the Grisha trilogy like a year before I read this. I can't remember. I loved it at the time. Looking back, I'm like, it was not as good. It's okay, but like this is way better. But this was just slow in the beginning. But there's a lot of build in the start of this book. Once the crew comes together, it all makes sense. Leigh Bardugo did way better with this duology than with the Grisha trilogy, in my opinion. The characters were much better in this. The plot was way better. The writing was stronger, although, as I said, it was more of a slow build in this duology than in the Grisha trilogy, but this I did end up loving. But as I said, I do love Crooked Kingdom more out of the two, personally, but this would be the douchebag boyfriend book in that I did love it in the end. The last question is to tell you all my favorite or least favorite tropes. So I guess I could do one of each. So that my favorite, it's so hard for me to decide, but honestly, because I'm a sucker for romance, my favorite will probably be enemies / rivals to lovers. Enemies being that obviously it has to be more of the right circumstances. Like in fantasy, if they are truly actually enemies, that's great. Or if they're like vying for the same thing. And then rivals, arguably The Hating Game, which is my all-time favorite romance book. They are more rivals to lovers than enemies to lovers because they're both vying for the same job. I saw a really great explanation of the difference on Twitter, and can I remember it? No. But that would probably be my favorite. But my least favorite, there's a lot now that I really don't like. Honestly, my least favorite probably still has to be the I'm not like other girls trope, or tied in with that, the girl who hates other girls just to please a guy trope, which still happens more often than you would think. Part of the reason I can never read Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli is because I truly did not like Leah's character in Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, because she hated, oh, I can't remember the other girl's name, but she hated that other girl just because Leah's crush liked the other girl when it literally has nothing to do with the other girl. Like, she has no control over his feelings. Like, stop getting mad at girls. Stop getting mad at other girls just because the guy you like or person you like doesn't like you. That's not their fault. Like, they can't control other people. If you don't like someone because of their personality or because they are actually like a bad person, that's different. But anyway, that is my answers to the Nope Trope book tag. Thank you so much for watching. What are your favorite tropes or your most hated tropes? Let me know down in the comments. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe so you can see more awesome content on my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!